This is the Hiking Through Life podcast. We've all been gifted a journey called life. Let's see where the journey leads us today. Welcome to the Hiking Through Life podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sarah.
And on today's journey, we talk with Hippie and the Tech.
Yeah, they are living in their RV full-time with 2 kids and a dog and a cat. And I was super inspired. I got connected to them on Instagram this summer while we were out on our summer road trip. A lot of the time, Andy and I were conversing, like, could we live in our car full-time? And it was just cool to see that they are doing it, living in their vehicle full-time.
They have a bigger vehicle, though. They actually have an RV. They're living in a little bit more comfort, I guess, than we were in a smaller Subaru.
Yeah, they didn't need to move their kitchen out of their car every time they cooked.
Yeah, but I have dreams of making ours into a little bit more of a comfortable space for the next road trip.
Yeah, and it was just really cool to see how they did live in a house, and they decided to give it all up and decrease their living space by a lot. And they homeschool their kids and go from parking lots to RV parks to families' homes.
And that's one thing that was really cool about this episode too, is how it's kind of that nomadic lifestyle and brought us really back to what we were doing this summer and just going and visiting all of these different places. And it was great for us to interview these people that are doing this full time. It kind of inspired us to think more about just what we're doing and maybe going on another road trip of our own.
Yeah, and I gotta say that their YouTube channel is really awesome and gives a ton of tips. They're super passionate about helping families live this lifestyle. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your wanderlust while you listen to Hippie and the Tech. So we are here with Mel and Tony, and together they are Hippie and the Tech. Thank you for being on today, you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Super excited to have you. Yeah, you're welcome. I found you guys on social media. Your name itself is fairly catchy, Hippie and the Tech. What's the story behind that?
Actually, Mel came up with the name because I was not creative at all. I was coming up with like classy living and all these other just really
they weren't bad.
They just weren't great. And Mel's like, well, you're an audio tech and I'm kind of a hippie, and she just threw that out at me and my jaw hit the ground. I'm like, yes, that's amazing.
It kind of just explains more of who we are versus what we do, and it just kind of flows better with everything that we do in our life, and not just about the travel, but necessarily just it's a conversation starter. People are like, all right, who's the hippie and who's the tech? And we're like, you figure it out. You know what I mean? So it kind of makes it fun for people when we meet them. And
it also plays along with our personalities because we are so opposite.
Polar opposite, yeah.
I'm the outgoing. I got to be around people. Mel's like, yeah, people.
No, I love people. That's not it. See, this is exactly the oil and water. It's just
she's healthy. I'm not.
Except for right now, mine's all janky and messed up. But yeah,
it's hard to be healthy around the holidays.
Yeah, especially when it's snowing outside. You're like, what? Your body's not used to it when you've been hiding out in the desert for so long.
It's like it's snowing. What can we eat?
Right. Yeah, you go into hibernation mode in the snow, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's us. Hippie, and I'm the tech. She's the hippie. So there you have it.
I mean, I know a lot of people who follow you probably already know this, that you guys had your typical American dream. You guys had the house, you were working, you had the typical American family living in a home. So what led you guys to basically give everything up and live in your RV?
Well, I was gone 3 weeks a month. and it was getting so bad that if I was home and I started walking towards the door, the kids would start panicking, thinking that, oh, daddy's leaving again. And it just wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all. And so Mel started looking at all these travelers on Instagram and people that had kind of taken their life and flipped everything around,
Moved it to the road.
and started living on the road. And she brought that to my attention when I came home one day. And I mean, it was so bad to where I'd be gone for a week, and then as I was landing in Cleveland, I'd get a notification that I'd have to leave the next day. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't even come home. I'd just spend the night at a hotel and then fly out the next day. And
Well, and
so
you were like going to all these awesome places and sending me these pictures, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I wish I could be there. You know what I mean? It was just like, I want to see what you're seeing.
yeah, it
And
was a
why are we doing this where
it was
we're so separated? And you know what I mean? Like,
it was a
let's do this
catch-22,
together.
yeah, because I wanted to send her pictures, but I knew if I did, it'd be like, you're not working, you're having fun. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm in Australia, I'm at this really nice place. And so yeah, it got to be where we were living two separate lives. She was overwhelmed at home having to take care of everything. I was basically living the way I like to live, which is I love being nomadic. I love traveling. I love getting out and seeing new sights and not staying in the same place for very long. And so we kind of just decided that we would both do that. And it was really conducive to my job because I had to be all these, I had to leave and be everywhere. And she would just come with us, and the company paid for our gas and paid for any campsites and stuff. And, that worked great until I got laid off.
And that was pretty recently, right?
4 months now, 4 or 5
Okay.
months. I've been happily unemployed. And now I just do my own thing now. I'm a independent audio engineer, and I go around tuning audio systems. So it's been great.
Okay. And so when you guys still did have the house, Mel, at that time, were you just a stay-at-home mom, or were you working too?
No, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was a photographer, and now I'm a homeschooling mom and a photographer. But I knew that, going on the road, I knew there was going to be so much more added to my plate. Like, obviously one of us is going to have to school the kids. And so it was definitely something that was challenging to accept at first. It was very scary, but, I think it all kind of just, it's great now. I mean,
We kind of have control over every aspect of our life.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is really cool. And before you guys started homeschooling the girls, did they ever go to a public school?
They did. They were both in public school. One was in preschool, and then one was in first grade. That's as far as they both went in the, school system. And I wasn't even happy then, like with them being, in public school. And I really wanted to branch out. It's a lot easier now to do that than it would have been even just a few years ago. There's so many more resources now.
Mhm.
So for me, I wanted to homeschool them regardless. So us getting on the road was definitely sort of a kick in the pants to actually, take that step forward and homeschool them and, give them something that I feel is better. And that it's very easy to do now. It's a lot easier, to do than it was even just a few years ago. There's a lot of help out there with homeschooling. So
Now, one thing that Mel said a while ago that really resonated with me and my father, we did, this was covered in one of our YouTube videos about how to tell your parents that you're going full time on the road, was when you have your kids and you take them to class, basically you are deciding who their friends are going to be that year. They don't get to choose. Now in the road life, we're traveling around, we're meeting new kids and everything. They can pick and choose who they want to hang out with. It's not like they have to sit in a certain class with a certain group of people, and that's given them this sense of independence. And it's
Confidence.
in confidence as well. So I mean, if our daughter, if if Chloe doesn't want to hang out with somebody, she's just like, yeah, I'm good, you know.
Yeah.
Which is pretty neat because I think there's this really big misconception around homeschooling that a lot of the times the kids don't really have a social life and they don't really gain personality. But what I'm hearing from you guys is the total opposite.
It is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It's a big stigma. I don't even know how it happened. It's a weird stigma that I would love to find out how it started. Like be like, excuse me. But no, it's quite the opposite with almost every single homeschooling kid that I've ever met is so much themselves and not a product of something else. You know what I mean? They're very much confident in who they are. They very much know what they do and don't like. They know the kind of people that they want to hang out with. They're just really well-rounded people, little people, and you're just like, this is cool, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, community is kind of at the heart of the nomadic movement, and with that, you're constantly meeting new people, and it's not like do you live at a home right now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, how well do you really know your neighbors? Do you go see them, you know, every day? And the difference is when you pull into even an RV park, typically you step outside and everybody's waving and you meet your neighbors,
Or even when you're boondocking.
and even more when you're boondocking, you're out at an event or a meetup. It's just all about meeting people, and you have this bond of, you know, this nomadic life bond. And it's just 180 degrees different than being in a sticks and bricks.
Yeah, which is pretty cool because, like, yeah, by no means do we go up and chat with every single one. And I think that's a really special thing that you guys have about this life that you're living. Like, you kind of create a community everywhere you go. So is there any, like, big misconceptions about the RV life that you think are out there that you guys are trying to prove differently to people?
Well, she does have a hat that says trailer trash, which is, you know, when we go to BLM land, we'll go out with trash bags and we'll clean up and we'll bring the trash back to the BLM headquarters and let them know. I think there's a stigma that we're a bunch of hill jacks that live in the trailer park. You know, it's really not that. You know, the majority of RVers are, you know, retirees or young families that are looking to trade things for experiences. And that's really what we're all about is, you know, how can we die with the most experiences? So I think it's just a different mindset, but from the outside looking in, you know, we're living in trailers.
RVs, vans,
you know, vans,
school buses. It's, you know what I mean? I think the travel lifestyle isn't for everybody, but for those who it is, it makes complete and utter sense. You know what I mean? It's like, why wouldn't I do this?
But for somebody look from the outside looking in, I can see how they would be like, well, they just don't want to be responsible and own a home. Well,
from what I see you guys doing, I mean, you do all these fix-up videos and stuff. So, I mean, you're probably doing more maintenance on your RV than people do in their homes. I mean, I can't even imagine the maintenance you have to do.
There's people spending more on the road than living at a home. I mean, that's one misconception is I'm going to save a ton of money living in an RV.
You do save some, though.
There's two ways of doing it. You can go out and buy yourself an older RV for, you know, $10,000-$20,000, pay it off cash, and, you know, be handy with it and boondock. If you do that, you can save a ton of money. Or on the other side, you can go finance a truck, finance a fifth wheel or travel trailer, or go out and buy a really nice, you know, diesel Class A. It's going to cost you more than it is to just pay rent at some place or buy a house even. So that's one misconception is just living this lifestyle, you're going to save a ton of money. You actually have to go into it planning that this is going to be my goal. And it takes a lot, you know, because if you're going to buy something older, you have to be aware of the 10-year park rule, which is if your RV is older than 10 years, most RV parks won't accept you. You have to either submit a picture and get approved to stay at those RV parks.
What's the reason for that?
Well, the reason in most RV
Yeah, I don't
parks,
know about this either.
yeah, it's a big deal. Most RV parks will they want to make sure that your RV isn't going to, how do you say this without being mean, isn't going to look like a big pile of crap. We don't want cousin Eddie parking next to us, basically, coming out crappers full, right? So what they do is, most parks have got a 10-year rule cap. Like most RV parks, if you have a form that you fill out, it'll ask you how old your rig is and stuff. And it's a good rule, but it really limits a lot of people, because there's a lot of really good older RVs out there that look great, or they're restored. What were those ones, those GMCs that were from the 70s that were like, oh, we want, they were so cool looking, but you'd have to submit a picture to a lot of parks.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I never even thought, the things that we don't think of when we're not living this lifestyle. Wow. How about your girls? How has it benefited your girls?
They're more well-rounded kids. I think that they obviously have experienced more than some people have experienced in, their entire lives, and they get to explore more, and they have a much larger appreciation for nature and, the environment, and, even just meeting new people. They become very fortunate when they get to, with everybody that they meet, and they remember people, even people that they would bring somebody up and I'm like, wait, who is that again? You know what I mean? And they're much more outgoing, and they're much more level-headed. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
I saw it right there.
Yeah. I don't think it's something that I don't think they are the kids that they are now that they could have been if we were still just doing, our routine 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's nuts how smart they are. It's amazing, because the amount of effort that Mel puts into teaching them, it's one-on-one every day, and it's all day one-on-one. So they wouldn't get that kind of attention at a regular school, which there's nothing wrong with regular school. It's just
right.
This
yeah,
is
let's
different.
Disclaimer that there's nothing wrong with public school, and if you do that, awesome.
But a lot of public schools, they don't have a student to teacher ratio to where it's one-on-one all day long. That's just the nature of it, and that's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a teacher, and yeah, we have 20 kids in a classroom. Yeah, it's very overcrowded in public schools, no doubt.
So you can imagine if you had one kid or two kids that all you did was work with those two kids all day long, you're going to have a different result, because nobody's going to get left behind. All the questions are going to get heard and answered.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you guys are kind of planning your lessons, Mel, do you kind of let the girls guide what they want to learn?
When I notice that there's something that that really sparks their interest, we actually will stop what we're doing, and I will create an entire curriculum about that, and we literally will just quit all the other stuff that we're doing, and we'll focus on that thing, whether it's like horses or the Titanic or something like that they really get interested in. I will create a whole outline of language arts and incorporate math and sciences into it, and we'll, it's called unit studies, and then they pick it up, and it's not only are they learning about this one thing that they wanted to, that really sparked their interest, but we're building everything else around it that, their fundamentals that they need, and incorporating it into this so they retain it more. And it makes it a lot more fun for them. It makes it fun for me, because we, aren't consistently just doing our curriculum and just getting it done. It's like taking breaks to do different, these interests really keeps the spark of it going.
Yeah, I love that because I think in school, I mean, and just in life, people just get very caught up in the motions, going through the motions of everyday things. And obviously, you guys experienced that. I think earlier you said it's crazy that just 2 years ago, if we would have continued the motions of our everyday life, where the girls would be at. And so,
Yeah.
so you guys have only been living this lifestyle for 2 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. We feel like it's been a decade at least. Like it just feels like we have seen so much and we'll forget about a place and we're like, "Oh yeah, that was really cool." Like it happens a lot more than I thought it would.
There was a commercial on TV that was showing all these amazing places in the U.S. and it was crazy. Oh, been there, been there, been there. Yeah, we've been to all of them.
Yeah.
It was crazy, and we did 30,000 miles last year, and we went from the East Coast to the West Coast, back to the East Coast to the West Coast, and all over zigzag. I think there was only 6 states we didn't go to.
Do you guys have dogs too?
We have a dog, yeah.
And so the dog lives full time in the RV with you as well?
Yeah, we have a dog and a cat. The kids just got back with grandma.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
We had Amazon packages come, so they were blocked.
Yeah, that's got to be hard too. Like organizing your mail. Do you guys do like the little mail boxes, certain places like Amazon mail boxes or whatever?
I've had lockers before. The lockers are a godsend, but it's hard to find them all the time. But when we get to like a friend's house or a relative's house, it's like Christmas. Like with whatever we needed from Amazon, we're like,
Yeah,
getting everything that we needed.
The regular mail we have through Road Life Project, that organization we put together. There's mail forwarding and stuff that you have access to, and that's something that you really don't think about until you get on the road. It's like, wait a second, what am I going to do with mail? And so that's one of the topics we tackled.
Yeah, and with your Road Life project, is that kind of just a community you guys built around the RV life?
Well, it's a community, but it's a little more than that. It's
Resources.
basically, everything that we had to learn the hard way. We're trying to lay out. So if you wanted to get into the RV lifestyle, the Road Life Project is just that. It's navigating people through the hardest parts of the road life. And that's, finding health insurance that crosses state lines. It's finding car and RV insurance that does full replacement, and they're not going to drop you when they find out that you're living in your RV full time,
Right.
which happened to us. We had, regular car insurance. We told them we got an RV. They're like, great. And then when they found out we were living in it, they dropped us instantly. And so
Mail
these
forwarding,
yeah.
like we said.
Yeah, mail forwarding. We have this program called Digital Pen Pal, which allows our kids to interact with other Road Life kids online through basically Skype calls, and we have events, and they're just everything that you would want to have while you're on the road. We've tried to put a program in place for it.
I love that. That sounds like super positive and just what every family needs when they're out there. So if people want to be a part of that, is that just kind of like a Facebook group, or what does that look like?
Well, we have a Facebook group called Full-Time RV Family Life. There's about 11,500 people in that group. Roadlifeproject.com is where you would go to sign up. It's just like any other full-time RV group. There's a one-time fee, and that gives you access to all the different programs. And you also have access to the events that we do, which we're putting on events that are family-centric. We just did our fall festival in Athens, Texas in October, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, and the majority of our events are going to be, family-oriented meetups.
And so, when you guys do that, are you usually like collaborating with like RV parks to host those?
We do RV parks, events at RV parks. We work with Our Village to help, do their family camps. And we also are planning some, smaller meetups and some boondock boot camping where we'll go out to a location, a BLM lands, and we'll all just boondock together and share secrets.
Such a cool community. And it sounds like you have a lot of free time when you're on the road, but how about working on the road? Like, do you work a certain amount of weeks and then go have time off, or how's that look?
Well, because
Pretty flexible.
I'm very flexible because basically I'm a freelance audio engineer now, and I'm doing some install work, and it's mostly all churches, So I work with churches that are doing new facilities, and or I go in and I tune their systems to sound better. And so it's it's feast or famine sometimes, but I'm always out there, shaking the trees, trying to find more work. And when I find it, great, And I think we've been very fortunate to be able to stay afloat. And whenever I don't have to work, I don't.
Yeah, because before you were laid off from your other job, with your other job, was it pretty rigid schedule?
It was pretty scheduled, yeah.
Yeah, I was working 9 to 5 on my computer when I was in the RV. We couldn't really travel during those work days unless I was traveling to an event or to my next destination. Because I was in sales. I was trying to sell audio equipment, and it was a little restrictive, but we still did 30,000 miles and saw a lot of amazing sights. I've got that video about me getting laid off on our YouTube, and it kind of explained it. It was a great job. It took a lot of my time, and it created Hippie and the Tech because of it. And so we're very thankful for the opportunity and the experience, and now we're just on our next chapter.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's definitely going really well for you. I mean, that's pretty amazing, all the places you guys have been. Is there a favorite place you guys have traveled to?
This question is always so tough.
We've always answered it with like 5 or 6 different places.
Do we have an absolute favorite? No. Is there ties? Yes. I'm very much a Northwestern fan, like Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, like that area, Montana. Those are my favorites. I really, really liked those.
I liked Custer a lot.
So South Dakota.
Yeah, I love that. I love that area. Because you could go to, Crazy Horse.
Memorial.
You can go out to Needles. There's so many things right there.
Yeah.
And the weather was perfect.
Yeah, Custer's awesome.
What about Yellowstone?
That's Wyoming.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite place, Yellowstone.
Oh wow, we actually agreed on that. Wow.
Okay.
That's rare.
But Jackson Hole was kind of neat. But the Jackson Hole is really a one-day city.
I love Jackson Hole,
really
though.
cool.
But there's a lot of stuff to do outside of just that
this is a loaded
city.
question. You can't. What's your favorite place? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them in there.
Most of the flyover states you really should check out. There's a lot more to them.
Right.
So everybody's been to Graceland, right? It's a place you go to. But have you been to Elvis's birthplace? Which is this tiny little house where was it, Mississippi? Tupelo, or as our friends call it, Tupuelo. But it's like you can experience all these little tiny places, too. It's not like you're saving up money to go get your 1 or 2 week vacation once a year to go to some great place. You can go check out all these little places as well. Yeah, like Cosmos. That was nuts.
It's a really weird area.
Is that a little town?
No, it's a little science place in the.
It's like a tourist trap, but is it in South Dakota?
It's in South Dakota, yeah.
And it's like a weird gravitational pull off the side of a mountain, and you walk in and everything's tilted. It's like a total
It's like a Ripley's
mind-blown
Believe It or Not
experience.
type thing.
Yeah, but it's really neat. So like the little roadside attractions are always super fun. Roswell, I love Roswell.
We've been to Earth, New Mexico. We've been to Pie Town.
Yeah.
And stopped and had pie in Pie Town, New Mexico.
Yeah, I think it's when you find those off the beaten places that usually are free to visit. We found out a lot this summer too. Like finding the free spots is kind of where it's at.
Yeah, Cadillac Ranch was one that Mel's always wanted to do, and we surprised her one day and brought her there in Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that's off the beaten path, and it's free.
And so is Texas the last place you guys were staying? Or no, you guys were in Arizona.
We were in Arizona for about a month and a half.
We were in Texas, so for the install.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
In a little town called Bandera that I fell in love with. It was just a cute cowboy town, and it was nothing but cowboys. It was crazy, but that's not really that's just them being them. And
evidently she has a thing for cowboys.
No, I don't have a thing for cowboys. No, I don't. It was just neat.
The town full of cowboys.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it was a really cool town, and everybody was super friendly, and all the buildings were very Western themed, and I don't know, it was their norm, and it was just super cool.
Yeah, but we've when we left Texas, it took us 3 days to get up here.
To get here.
And so, we'll stop at rest stops and Walmart parking lots and
Cabela's, REI's, yep.
And Cracker Barrels, and spend the night. So we rarely do to go from point A to point B, we won't really pull into an RV park. We'll just stop when we're tired.
Yeah, when was the last time we were even at an RV park?
Oh, we stopped at Athens RV, Texan RV park in Athens, but we slept in the parking lot because we were just there to pick them up.
Yeah, that's true.
You haven't actually stayed at an RV park for quite some time, is what I'm hearing.
It's been a long time, yeah.
It was before.
And do you count Phoenix, even though that was somebody's backyard?
That was somebody's
there
backyard.
Was a hookup there though, but
barely.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well,
honestly,
what we're doing right now. It's called mooch docking. We're at our in-laws' house. Well,
at my mom's house.
Her mom's house. Mom and dad's house.
Mom and dad, yep.
And so we've just got, we got a 50 amp plug, but that's dog bone down to a 30, which is dog bone down to a 15 amp. So it's just basically a 3-prong Edison plug that is plugged into the wall, and that just keeps our batteries, charged. And during the day where we have some solar coming in to make up for whatever that's not covering, and
spending time with
family. Yeah.
Yep.
And then we're gonna leave here, and then we're gonna go do the same thing at my parents' house.
Yeah, we're going to Florida to do the same thing.
Just a little warmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No snow down there.
No, definitely not.
So when you're finding all these places, are you usually just using freecampsites.net, or are there other good resources that you're willing to share with people?
Well, yeah, of course we're willing to share.
All Stays is my favorite app. It's $9.99, but that's it. There's no monthly fees. You just pay that one-time fee. And you get to filter out not only campsites, but you get to find BLM places. You can narrow it down to find just dump stations for your tanks, propane, Walmart, overnight Walmarts or Cabela's or Cracker Barrels or REI's. You can filter it out and just find specific things that you want to find. Low clearance bridges,
Yep.
Everything. It's a really, really cool app that I really love and use a lot.
And I use RV Parky. So there's 2 apps that I use. There's Campendium, which is probably one of the easiest BLM or paid park apps out there, and it's user rated. So when I'm looking for BLM land, I basically put in where I'm going to go or where I'm at, and then I look at the ratings.
Yeah.
And that really helps, because someone will say it's really rocky or really hard to get back there, be careful, because you really want to scout out first anyways. And if they're already saying it's impossible to get back there with the Class A, then, I'm not even going to consider it.
They'll post pictures too.
Yep.
To show you the terrain.
The other one is called RV Parky. And that one, when I get a text from Mel in the back, asking when we're going to stop, I'll hit RV Parky, and that one I've got the filter set up to just find overnight parking. So any of the Walmart, Cabela's, REI rest stops and stuff, it'll show me where the next one is. I just hit it, and we go. So those are the three main apps that we use, and of course Instagram.
Yeah. Those are really good resources. I actually have only heard of the All Stays one that Mel mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got the biggest marketing budget, but the Campendium one
is a pretty popular one.
That one there is hands down my favorite app of all. And then the RV Parky is great for when I'm trying to find something really fast. And All Stays does the same thing. I'm just more familiar with RV Parky. So
yeah.
And plus Mel bought it on her phone.
Yeah, it's not on his, it's on my phone.
Yeah, makes sense. How do you necessarily decide where you're going to go stay? Obviously, you're looking at this app and you're like finding the location to go, but do you usually have like a specific city, or do you kind of just look at this app and say, oh, this looks like a great site?
Well, like when we went to South Dakota to go just on vacation, basically, we wanted to go to South Dakota to see Crazy Horse, and then we went to Yellowstone, Grand Tetons, Jackson Hole, and then back down to Texas. So that trip there, we left without planning anything. We knew where we were going. We just didn't really pick where we wanted to stay. I don't like doing that. We left when we're getting tired, we find a place, we find a rest stop, or basically one of those, common places you can spend the night. And then when we got closer to where we were going, then we looked to see what was available. We looked for public lands, and we go scout it out. And when we find a place we like, we'll stop. A lot of times we use our community, just say, hey, we're over here. Where's a great place? Where's the hidden gems? And, people will let you know within our.
You say community, do you mean your Facebook group that you're reaching out to usually?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The Facebook group, between we got like 4 or 5, actually we have 5 or 6 different Facebook groups. We have like 15,000 people that are, constantly putting in information and recommendations and stuff. So it's a really great community. And man, everybody's always asking for help. Like today I saw some lady had a clogged drain, and they had like 40 different comments on there trying to help her out. Towing issues, all sorts of stuff. So it's just a great group of people trying, there to help out. But back to the question, when we got to Yellowstone, we actually met up with some friends there. We posted that this is where we're heading. They were like, hey, we're here now. Come to these coordinates, and we have a spot for you. We ended up meeting really good friends. But yeah, we kind of just play it by ear. When we first started, we used to plan everything out. I wanted to have everything booked ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just
used to drive me crazy.
That was just crazy. Yeah. Now, if you're going to be an RVer and you're going to stay in RV parks, you have to do that. You have to plan ahead. You have to get your name on the list, especially in Florida, during this time of year. But if you are going to just live off the land and be a boondocker and mooch docker like us, it's a lot more lax.
Okay, so that makes sense. So I'm assuming when you guys are heading down here, you already have your spot picked out, or are you staying at your parents' driveway?
We're gonna literally. I actually installed a 50 amp hookup at my dad's house. So when we pull in, we'll actually have a 50 amp hookup. The only thing we won't have is, water and sewer and stuff, but we can go, 14 days easy on our tanks without having to fill up or do anything. So it works out.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do DIY stuff when you've been living in this RV. I know you have tons of YouTube videos, but have you always been kind of a DIY type person?
Actually,
when you married me, yeah.
When I started the YouTube channel, it was really just to put like videos together with music in the background because I'm a musician for our family, and that was it. And then I did one do it yourself video, which was about the cheap handling fix for a sway bar, and it just exploded. And I was like, oh, well, I guess people want to know things. And then we started making more DIY videos, and then we started doing inspirational videos just about life and living on the road.
But yeah, I would say that you're a very DIY person.
I like to do it myself.
You're a handyman.
Yeah, sure. I'll take that. I'm a handy cowboy.
No, you're not.
Okay.
I want to touch on like what was the biggest challenge going from a home to an RV? I mean, you're going from living in a home to like what size is your guys' RV? 20, 25 feet?
33.
33 feet. Okay. So like what would you find was the biggest challenge? I mean, is personal space an issue at all?
Do you want to go first?
Biggest challenge I think was adjusting, I think, to the amount of space, but it didn't take us long to adapt. I don't think that it was that bad of an issue. But I mean,
my biggest pain point or stress was how long it took to get into it. After that, I think the adjustment, right?
Yeah.
It was just adjusting to the smaller space, adjusting to not having to be so stringent on booking places. I think just learning to chill out, learning to relax. It's okay to not have something to do.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder in life, I think. I mean, do you have any big advice for families that are looking to live into this style? I mean, I know you guys have a huge following and tons of videos, but what would you say to a family who was in your situation a couple of years ago?
If they're considering it, do it. There's really nothing easier advice than if you're thinking about doing it, do it, try it. It's not going to hurt anything if you try, but it could hurt if you don't, because you could be regretting it forever.
Yeah, I'd rather try and fail than not try at all. The coolest thing that happened to us was we sold everything and went all in. So we couldn't get back into our home. We are in this RV for a while, so it kind of forced us to just rough it through the hard parts, and because we didn't have any options. This is our life now. We have to stay in the RV.
And I know you guys kind of already touched on some of the unexpected challenges of living in an RV. Like I know you mentioned like the insurance and the mail. Was there any other really big unexpected challenges that, I mean, I'm sure you guys have challenges that are arising every day.
I wouldn't necessarily say we have more challenges, but when we do have a challenge, we are very adaptable now. And it's not something that either one of us would have been before, but we take a lot of issues or chaos that happen with much bigger stride now. We're much more level-headed when we take them on, and I think that's something that has definitely developed only from traveling so much, and you just become very adaptable to your situations going on around you, and I think it's great.
And I think that's really cool because I know earlier you were talking about how your girls are so outgoing and they remember people, and clearly it's made them adaptable, and that's only going to be better when they become adults. I mean, the fact that you're doing this with them now when they're like, how old are they? Like 8, 9?
They're 8 and 6.
That's pretty amazing what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fully inspired by what you guys are doing on your site. My husband and I watch your guys' YouTube videos sometimes, and we always think about like, just living in our Subaru. Like we lived in it for 2 months and it was awesome. And we're like, could we do this full time? And we just,
yeah.
Right. I mean, you guys are totally used to this, which is Great.
But that's where the community comes in.
No, we do have a lot of people that reach out, that are considering it, that see us, and they'll take a picture and be like, hey, we just saw you.
Yeah, the community's great. You should, if you haven't joined Full-Time RV Family Life yet, the group, you should do that. And, say hi.
Yeah, for sure will. And hopefully all the listeners will too. Well, I mean, is there any final things you guys wanted to touch on or share with our listeners or people who are itching to live a more meaningful life?
Just go out and do it. I know that sounds so cliche, just do it, but that's really it. You just got to take the first step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and stop worrying about, where you are gonna go or where you've been. Just live today. Today is here. It's available. Enjoy it.
I always say that if you're considering it, then you should probably do it so you don't regret it. Just at least try it.
I love that. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Where can people find you on social media?
So on Instagram, it's just Hippie in the Tech.
It's Hippie in the Tech on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Yep. We don't have a LinkedIn because why?
Like, this was super, super awesome to talk to you guys. You guys seem like really fun, chill people.
Oh, we got it fooled. Success.
So this episode really, really brought me back to the road trip that Sarah and I did this summer. I found that I was very much in kind of that similar mindset as Tony was when they first started out. I'm a very planned out type person, just like Tony had mentioned how when they started this RV life, they had it all scheduled out, but found that that wasn't really the way to go. And now they're just kind of going with the flow, living in the moment, and just going where the road takes them. That is kind of a liberating experience, and that you just have to enjoy the moments and not get so caught up in being on such a rigid schedule sometimes.
Enjoy the moments as they come. And that also brings up the whole point of Mel talking about homeschooling. And I think it's so beautiful how she, when her girls are really interested in something, she'll just dive deep into it with them and take that as an entire lesson. And I love that because that's where kids are going to grow the most. When they are fully engaged in what they're doing, that's when they're going to soak it all in and be totally in love with it. One thing that Mel said that really stood out to me was that they are really adaptable in challenges and take chaos in stride. And that sounded like it was true of their whole family, even their girls. So I find that that is a huge part for their family and probably a lot of families who are living this RV life. And it seems like the communities around you are constantly changing. But Mel and Tony have done a really good job of creating a community online for families who are living this lifestyle.
Yeah, you can go check out their website at hippieinthetech.com, as well as their Facebook page, Hippie in the Tech, and they also have an Instagram and their YouTube channel. Their YouTube channel is really cool. Sarah and I have actually watched many of their videos, so if you're interested in how this family lives on the road, go check out their YouTube channel. They also put together some great resources, like Sarah had mentioned, in their online communities, and it's just a place for people to go and just exchange help, seek advice, and if you are seriously considering the van life or RV life, some of these groups you may want to go check out, like their Facebook group, Full-Time RV Family Life. And we'll have all of these links in the description of this episode.
So if you've been thinking about it, stop thinking about it and just do it. Thanks for listening. Get out there. We love sharing these stories with you through the Hiking Through Life podcast, and we're so grateful that you listen to this podcast. If you'd like to support the Hiking Through Life podcast further, we have these amazing new t-shirts and water bottles. The t-shirts come in 4 colors, and the water bottles are perfect for trails, adventuring, or daily use. Consider checking them out at hikingthroughlife.net/shop.
Use the code podcast and receive 10% off your first order.
You've been listening to the Hiking Through Life podcast. Peace, love, and hike through life.